As you can probably tell, I have a hobby that is kind of time consuming, and that is reading. I also have a really busy life outside of that hobby. I am a college student and I also have a job. I try to fit in everything else when I have time. I try to exercise, I try to feed myself, and I also attempt to have a social life. It's a struggle. Lately, I have found a few different ways that I personally am able to read more. I'm going to be sharing tips and tricks that help to maximize time spent reading. The very first tip is carry a book everywhere with you. By doing this, you're kind of channeling your inner Rory Gilmore. Rory Gilmore literally brings a book everywhere with her. She even brought a book with her to one of her school dances. I remember that scene so clearly and I was like, I want to be like that. When you bring a book everywhere with you, when you bring it to school, when you're taking public transportation, or you're just waiting somewhere for an appointment, there are gonna be these little pockets of time that you can take advantage of and fill that with reading. It kind of adds up because those little 5, 10, 15-minute moments throughout the day, those will turn into an hour and a half more that you're able to read. So instead of just mindlessly scrolling or whatever you normally would do with that time, fill that with reading and you'll be reading a lot more. Another benefit to doing that is that people will notice, and as long as you're not reading a book that you would be embarrassed seen in public reading, then you might make some friends, because I've had people comment on the books I'm reading, either ask me about it or tell me they read it too and they loved it. I specifically have met people who read books in the sauna, which is kind of a crazy place to meet other people, but I have literally met people who I've ended up becoming friends with just by reading in the sauna. So there you go. Tip number 2 is audiobooks. This is something that I have kind of discovered recently. I got the Libby app and that has been a game changer, because with Libby, it's completely free to read lots of different audiobooks at the same time. What I'll do is I will add like 20 different books on Libby at the same time, because there's usually a long wait for most of them. When one of those books comes in, I am on it. Reading an audiobook is so nice when you are doing something that can be done as a multitask. If you ever need to do the dishes or fold laundry or drive somewhere, listening to an audiobook is a great way to multitask and maximize your time again. And also with audiobooks, you can have it play faster than you would be able to read it. Sometimes I do like to just have it play the normal speed and just relax, but at the same time, if I'm trying to finish a book and I'm like, okay, I just want to get through this part, then I'll put it on 1.5 times speed and it makes it go a lot faster. Tip number 3 is setting realistic goals. And this has been something that I have had to kind of come to terms with, because I'm not good at setting goals that aren't big. But when it comes to books and your daily goal that you have, you can just set a really small and simple goal. This might be reading literally a page if your day is completely full of other things. Or maybe at the end of every day, you're gonna read a chapter, or you hope to finish a book per month. Trying to be realistic with what you're able to accomplish. Also, when you don't accomplish the goals, it's totally okay. Definitely be nice with yourself, because you are busy. You're totally valid in that. But just taking a step back, kind of evaluating where you're at with your busyness and what you think you can accomplish, and setting a goal that is achievable and that you can do. That has been helpful for me. Tip number 4 is to join a book club. I personally am not in a physical book club yet. I really want to start one. That's going to be a project in the future. For now, I have my own book club on an app called Fable. It's been so much fun. It's called A Court of Books and Reading. I thought I was really clever with playing on A Court of Thorns and Roses, but it's been so much fun. We read a different book every month, and it's usually related to fantasy or romance. You can submit requests for what you want to read each month. For each chapter, after you read it, you can go in and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Kind of is a good extra incentive to make sure you're reading This month, so starting literally today, we started The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. So if you're interested in reading that, definitely make sure to join Fable. The link, I believe, is in my YouTube bio, but I can also put it in the description of this video. Tip number 5 is to make reading a part of your daily routine. This basically just requires thinking about when in your day you have the time to read. Having that kind of be a part of a routine. If you are a morning person and you think that would fit best then, props to you. I'm trying to become a morning person. It has been a little bit of a struggle, but I'm getting there. Most of the time I actually end up reading in the evenings because that's what works for me. I try to read right before I go to bed. I just get all cozy and read for as long as I can stay awake. Okay, finally, tip number 6 is to reread books you love and also look for books that are similar to books that you've loved before. If you're ever struggling to get back into reading, whether it is because you're in a book slump or you just don't have as much time, finding a book that you know will captivate you, whether it's because you heard really great reviews of it or your best friend has been recommending it to you, or maybe you read the book before, like a couple years ago, maybe just last week, you know that it's gonna spark your interest. So that is a great way to just make sure that you're reading things that interest you. I found that honoring my book interests has really helped me to not get into book slumps as often. Those are all of my tips, so hopefully some of those help you or inspire you to read more. I know how hard it can be to balance a really busy life. I definitely have times where I just can't read for a while, and that's okay too. But this is always something I'm striving to be better at and setting goals with, and especially because the end of the year is coming up, I thought this would be a great time for me to reflect on how I can read more and also maybe share some advice so that hopefully you can also find a way to read more. Maybe you are also the kind of person who literally reads so many books, and if you are, I am working on being more like you. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to try one of these tips this week and let me know how it goes. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any other tips for reading more often. Would love to hear them and would definitely implement anything that you would suggest. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye. Theo says hi. Bye, Theo.